How's it going, my friend? I'm about to go live with my friend Mary B. We're going to be talking all about filming and creating a documentary series. Mary is a musician who recently traveled all over the world for her music and to create her documentary series, Finding Harmony. And this is the Creative Revolution Podcast, Season 3, Episode 2, and we're going live right now. Hello, everybody. My name is Ryan Rhodes. I am the founder and creative director at Reformation Designs and the host of the Creative Revolution podcast. And today I am here with my good friend Mary B from Finding Harmony. Mary is an excellent musician, singer, songwriter, overall creative entrepreneur. And today we're going to be talking all about her experience filming, creating, and connecting with musicians all over the world for her documentary series, Finding Harmony. Mary, how are you doing today?
I am doing great. How are you?
I'm doing excellent. This is really exciting to have you here. The last time we talked, it was actually season 1 of the podcast. It was the second episode that I did before I even knew that I was going to be calling it a podcast. So I'm super excited that you're here. We can kind of revisit what we talked about there. And the last time we talked, you were actually preparing to go on the trip that we're going to be talking about today. So first of all, how about you just introduce yourself for those who don't know you and talk a little bit about who you are, what you're up to, and say hello.
Sure. Well, thank you so much for having me on. It's super big pleasure. And I've told you this before, but I love the setup of this podcast. I think it's just so cool looking and, and you always have such interesting people on. So I'm really happy to be a part of it. My name's Mary. Yeah, I'm a singer and songwriter from New England, but I live in Los Angeles. And this past year, my husband and I made a docu-series about music and travel. And we went to Ireland, Scotland, England, Belgium, France, and Italy. And we met with artists in a bunch of cities within those countries and collaborated on a song together. And then filmed a conversation where we really just got to know each other and geeked out about music and, talked about how much music has meant to us in our lives. And just a show about, music bringing people together and just about how much music has a huge impact on people's lives, because it's had the biggest impact on my life of probably anything that there is. So.
Excellent. Yeah, I've just on that note, I taught myself how to play guitar and piano. I don't actually know how to read sheet music, but I kind of taught myself how to play by ear. And I have to say that since I made the decision to play every single day, it has not only impacted my mental health in such a positive manner, but it has been really exciting to me just to kind of watch that skill develop over time. So can you talk a little bit about, what was it that got you into music in the first place?
I remember the moment it happened, and I had to be in first grade because it was my first year at this school, Gordon School in East Providence, Rhode Island. And I had this music teacher. Her name's Mrs. Allam. She just recently retired, I guess, but she was just awesome. But I remember exactly where I was sitting in the classroom. She showed us The Sound of Music, and then we put on scenes from it and an assembly type thing. And I just remember watching that and my brain exploded. There was just this moment where I was like, that's it. That's what my life is going to be. There is no other path. And, it's just a really crucial moment. So that's why I think music programs in schools are super duper important, because, it can change the trajectory of someone's life. And it did for me. And so that's what first got me into it. And that just never stopped, all through middle school and high school and all that. I had band in high school, and that, continued through college. And then I just never stopped playing.
Very cool. That's great. Just a heads up, if you are typing, it does kind of come through on the mic. So just
I'm not. Weird.
Be careful on that.
Yeah.
Mary Mora says hello.
Hi.
So, and Naomi Rebecca Swallow says hello.
Hi.
So, thank you guys for joining us. So, in terms of just some of the logistics of the trip, because I know the last time we talked, you hadn't left yet. You were still in the process of dotting all the I's and crossing all the T's, and
Yeah.
figuring out all the crazy logistics of making a worldwide trip, from
Yeah.
figuring out what equipment you're going to bring, and just all of that goes into planning something like that. So, just overall, before we kind of dive into some of the real specific stuff, what do you feel like some of the lessons that you feel that you learned from the trip on the whole? And basically, can you just talk a little bit about the overall experience?
Yeah, for sure. So it was oddly almost exactly what I thought it was going to be. Like, normally, when you picture something and you do this kind of this big of a adventure, you're like, oh man, like it didn't look anything like what I thought it was going to look like. But this ended up being like exactly what I really thought it was going to be like. And I knew it was going to be as um, exhausting physically and emotionally, and all of those things. Um, but I had really envisioned that I would, that we would go out there and make all these friends and have all these beautiful experiences. And sometimes it would be rushed, and sometimes we would have more time to film. And really, like, all of those things happened, and it was just such an incredibly beautiful experience. And there was no like there was no hidden like dark side that you're not seeing in the show. Like, it was really actually that beautiful of an experience. The only bad day we had in the 3 months of the trip.
Oh, I know what you're gonna say.
And this is the only lesson learned.
Right.
Yeah, we got robbed.
I
So
bet.
that stunk. But you know what? It stunk, but it could have been so much worse. Like,
Yeah.
we were real, we had just finished about, it was like 32 hours in the car. We didn't
Wow.
we didn't make it to our Airbnb the night before. We ended up sleeping at a very well lit gas station and taking turns. And that was the
Thankfully.
that was the only night like that. I know, Mom, you're watching. Like, we were fine. We were totally safe. Um, um, I we were so tired, and when we got to our Airbnb in Brussels, it was at least 6 flights of stairs. It may have been 8, and there was no elevator. And so we took up a bunch of stuff, but our suitcase was just so heavy, and we had not like been in a bed. And we got there at like 4 in the morning. So we're like, okay, nothing's gonna happen to
Oh
that.
no.
This like and of course,
Then you hear like Ron Howard's voice. It did.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly. Exactly.
that's an Arrested Development reference for those who
Yeah.
don't know.
My favorite show. So yeah, so that was the one lesson, but it could have been so much worse, because even as tired as we were psychotic about bringing up all the cameras, all of our hard drives, you know, we like the really, really important things. So while, they got a lot and it was really expensive stuff, it was thankfully like really replaceable stuff, like most of our batteries for our cameras,
Right.
some audio recorders, stuff like that. So that really stunk. But that was it. I mean, like, in a 3-month period, having one bad day,
Yeah, that's amazing.
come on,
Yeah.
like, it was
Right.
like California weather followed us somehow. Like, it wasn't always
Uh,
warm, but it was like
I miss
almost
California weather a lot.
yeah.
I really do.
Yeah, so I mean, like, my answer is like, it was the best 3 months of my life, the best experience, and I had no complaints, and there was no dark side.
At least
Yeah.
until season 2.
All right, and
Right?
that's when the drama begins.
Oh no, no, I don't mean like no, I meant the best part. The best part of your
Oh,
life.
okay.
No, not the other stuff.
Yeah,
Tom Fox says, "I'm so happy with how Finding Harmony turned out, Mary. I'm so proud I helped make that dream come true for you."
Yes, you
So
did. Oh, thank you so much, Tom. Tom is amazing. He's an amazing person, and he's also part of the Patreon. And
oh
I
great.
could not have done this without the Patreon. You guys have no idea when I say it adds up. It adds up so much, and it helped us on the trip so much. And with post production, it really kept us afloat because we did all the posts, and it takes a lot of time, and we're just making it out of passion. You know what I mean? Like there's no real income yet on this sort of thing, and so without our Patreon, like we wouldn't have been able to do it. So thank you so much.
Well, that's actually a really good segue into the next question that I had for you. Obviously, just taking a trip a couple states away can add up financially, especially if you're bringing gear with you and you're, I mean, cameras, audio equipment. I mean, obviously, um, that adds up by itself. But talking about doing a multiple stop, multi country trip, uh, that
Yeah.
can you talk a little bit about how you went about handling the financial aspects of a project like this, and any advice that you would give to anybody who wants to do the same?
Yeah, for sure. Like I said, Patreon is amazing. There's other kinds of crowdfunding things out there like Kickstarter and everything like that. For me, beyond Patreon, the only reason that we're able to do this is because, like, I'm not independently wealthy. I never have been. But I feel like you need to find a life hack to be able to uh, do your passion in a way that it's sustainable. And our particular life hack is for the last 3.5 years, we've been house sitting in Los Angeles area and sometimes San Diego area, and we've even done on the East Coast a little bit. And so instead of owning our own home or apartment, we do it for free, so everybody wins, and it's a nice, happy little kind of a business type thing to run. But we don't charge anything, but we haven't had rent in that long,
Right.
so
So
that's
you're
been.
able to live and work in SoCal and have all the benefits of that, but not have the insane cost of living.
Oh, yeah, it's completely nuts. I mean,
Completely insane.
I mean, our last studio before we started doing this, I mean, you can get a small house for that. You know what I
Yep.
mean? Like we were in
Yep.
an okay area. It wasn't like fancy. It was just like not scary. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, and so I feel like, you know, you can totally work a job, you can work two jobs and then still be able to do your passion. Like, if you super duper have that drive. For me, I've found, like, why not do something that, it helps people, because house sitters are really expensive, and
Right.
animal care and stuff like that. It helps them just as much as we do. So it's all this just feel goodness, you know what I mean?
Right.
It's a really nice thing to do. Um, and so, if you can find your own life hack that saves you some kind of significant amount of money, like, I was even thinking like artists residencies,
Hmm.
where I used to work in Providence. There's AS220. They would have artist residencies that they still do, where, if you show the art that you're working on, you can live in a studio there that's like really insanely inexpensive, and so that you're able to work on your art, and have most of your living expenses covered. Or maybe it's as simple as taking a year and moving back in with mom and dad. Like, there's nothing, I don't judge that at all. Like, if you really want to start something, if it's not a video project, maybe it's you want to start a business or something
Right.
like that. Yeah, so besides that, we also had some sponsorships that were really great as well. The National Association of Record Industry Professionals, NARIP.com, they're awesome. And then Earthworks Microphones, they donated an amazing microphone for us to
Oh, great.
and so gathering sponsorships. I know you've done well in the grant world.
Hmm.
That's going to be something we look into for the next season. yeah, you got to be creative.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing. Just on that note, a lot of people when they think of starting a business or starting a project or whatever it is, they almost immediately go to thinking about, oh, I'm going to have to go into debt. I'm going to have to take out a loan, and there's plenty of people who will let you go into debt with them.
Yeah.
I'm not a huge fan of that model,
Yeah.
and I found out through local nonprofit here that there are things called IDAs, individual development accounts, and so those are usually grant money that is set aside at various nonprofits to help people start a business or buy a home or essentially invest in things that typically are going to cost a good bit of money. And so there's a lot of
Mhm.
hoops you have to jump through and paperwork to fill out and classes to take and things like that. But we were able to actually secure a grant for our business and the things that we're doing. Of, I believe what they do is they match it like 3 times, and we essentially save $3,000 over the course of 3 years, and they matched that 3 times. And so both my wife and I qualified for it. So, you know, all of that money gets put right back into our business endeavors. And it's really nice being able to say, oh, I have, X amount of money, several $1,000s to put into new equipment and marketing and, all of the different things that go into making ideas happen because you do need
Yeah.
capital. Um,
It's not cheap.
no, it's not cheap. So, I mean, and you don't have to say it, but if you don't mind sharing, like, do you have an idea of around how much the whole trip cost once everything was said and done?
Yeah, of course I know,
I
but
know you
yeah,
know.
I
Okay.
probably should
Okay.
share.
Totally understand.
But yeah, but you know what? We found ways to make things less expensive as
Hmm.
we went. Instead of hotels, we did Airbnbs,
Right.
and I did crazy amounts of research into staying in the least expensive Airbnb in the safest area of whatever city we were in. So I would research the city to learn like where the bad streets were, where the kind of safer areas were. And then I was like, I don't care, what I end up sleeping on as long as, we're not going to get robbed, which we did, but only one. Um, but every single one ended up being wonderful and clean and beautiful. And when I showed our travel agent at AAA how much I was able to, like what it was going to cost us for the whole trip to just use these Airbnbs that I found, her brain like exploded. She's like, "This is what most people spend on like 1 week in Paris.
Right.
How did you do this?" And I was like,
I have the
Airbnb,
wealth of human knowledge at my
yeah,
fingertips, and I used it.
researching. Like, yeah, it takes time, but it saves a lot of money. So things like that, and like, we would split meals, or we would
Sure.
go to the Tesco things, and get some vegan meat and a couple
Mhm.
pieces of bread, and that would be lunch. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
we weren't going out for fancy meals all the time. Like
You're
very
not
rarely.
dropping like $600 on a bottle of $5 wine
Nope.
that tastes that, or a bottle of wine that tastes no different than $5
Yeah,
wine.
we probably drank like we probably had like wine or drinks like I don't know, 10 days out of the whole trip because we were just working, you know what
Right.
I mean? So it's like we weren't like
It's not like
fine.
you're going on vacation.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it was
So
a cool experience, but that's one of the cool things about that really inspired me about what you're doing is that a lot of people they look at this stuff and they'll see the post production, they'll see the final video that's like however long, and but they don't realize all of the hours, all of the days, weeks, months, money, time, energy that goes into making that
yeah,
video by itself. Just
15 minutes of video. It's just like hundreds of hours.
right. So on that note, that's actually another good segue into the next question I had for you. How did you go about condensing all that footage, all that time into one episode? Like, what was your post production process like? Do you have any tips? How did that play
Um,
out for you?
Yeah, I mean, I actually really loved the post production. It took a long time, and I know that, and I apologize to everybody for how long it took to come out. But I was one person doing it all, and David handled all the audio, and our friend Daryl did some of the songs as well. But In terms of the video posts, it was all me, so it took a little longer. And I've only been editing video for like a little over 2 years now.
They look
So
great. They turned out great.
thank you. I appreciate that, babe. But I really have fun with it. But yeah, I mean, for each episode, we had three cameras going, and we would have usually about like 2 or 3 hours of footage. So just going through the footage alone took like 2 months. You know
Yeah,
what I
did
mean?
you have so just on a logistics side, because I'm kind of a nerd about that stuff. Like, do you use
Yeah.
different software to kind of track timestamps and be like, oh, I like this clip,
Um,
or is it all on paper, like notebooks?
Sort of. So David is like a man of many talents. Like it's crazy. He filmed all of it, by the way. Like, and I just like was blown away by his artistic eye on it. It was amazing. But on top of that, and being an actor and a musician, all these things that he does so amazingly well, he's also extremely smart. And he wrote this batch script file, which I recently just learned what that means. It's basically just like a program that you double click on, and then like all
The
these
robot does the work for you.
yeah, all
Yeah.
these processes happen. And so after we would film something, what I would normally do is like, okay, put in the card and save all the things to different folders and have to go through it or whatever. But he wrote this crazy batch script where you plop in the thing and the card into the computer, double click on it, and just does it all for you. And so it would literally like sort everything. It would name the folders like based on what city we were in and the date. And
Oh, because the like the meta tags in the video files.
I guess so. Like I don't know how he did it, but it was nuts. And so
He's a wizard, Mary.
yes, it's crazy. Like who is this guy? But yeah, so like anytime I've done something like that, it's always like a mess. And you're like, oh no, where's the B-roll? Like, where's, like, what day did we film this on? And, but with this amount of footage, it's just so much.
Right.
Like, we didn't have that. Like, it would have taken me 3 months to go through the footage. But this was all so neatly organized, just like from this batch script. It was crazy. Yeah, and then so first all it was a matter of watching everything, and
Right.
then watching like hours and hours and hours, endless hours of B-roll, which by the way I wrote down as a point to make sure I said take even more B-roll than you're gonna because
Yep.
like it's not like half the time it doesn't look as good as you think it does.
Yep.
Like when
Well,
you
because
pull it
yeah,
up,
you're like looking at it on a small screen, like, oh, that'll be fine, and then they're
yeah,
all blurry
like
whenever
this
you see it in high def.
glorious view, and then it like kind of just looks crappy, or it's like shaky and you don't realize
Right.
it. But so take way more than you think you're going to, and it saves your butt so many times. Like when you need something to cover up a mistake, or like just something to, I don't know, it's important. But yeah, just watching it all, and then so I would watch it all, and I would just make markers. I wouldn't cut it up yet, and then I'd go back and then just watch the markers and see which clips were the best from the things that I marked, grab those clips, and then I'd still have like 40 minutes when I need to shave it down to 15.
So
You know what I
were
mean?
you using Premiere or Final Cut?
I use Premiere.
I do too.
I like Premiere a lot. Yeah, and I heard Final Cut just changed its setup, so now it doesn't like do as much stuff. So a lot of people are switching to Adobe Premiere because of that. But one thing I wanted to also make sure to say is if somebody out there is thinking about doing something like this, or just making any kind of videos in general, DaVinci Resolve is a free editing program that I have not learned how to use yet for editing, but I use it for all of my color correction and color grading. And it's amazing. Like the stuff you can do with this free program. There's a paid version, but it's like the free one you can do just like anything with almost. And it is phenomenal. And so if you are trying to find like a good, like high quality video editor and you don't want to pay for it, DaVinci.
Yeah, Brent, if you're watching, can you Google that and post a link to that in the comments? That would be great.
Yeah, it's I mean, and I use it. I edit in Premiere, then I export to DaVinci, do my color grading. bring it back into Premiere, do my final touches, and then I export. And it's, you know, but
Interesting.
I'm sure the editing is great in DaVinci. I just personally like the interface of Premiere.
Right. Yeah, that's great. I've never even actually heard of that, and I'm usually pretty on
Oh,
top of those.
really? Oh
Mm-mm.
my God, it's insane. Like if I wanted to take your lips from this and make them purple, I could.
Hmm.
It's so
So
nuts.
it's almost like it has kind of like some After Effects level type features in it.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. And but and its own different kind of stuff as well. Because I know there's a lot of things you can do with this color grading you can't do in After Effects. It's a cool program.
Oh,
Yeah.
cool. Yeah. Oh, it's from Black Magic. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, and then also for post production and for buying equipment, I always reference YouTube University. That's how I learned how to do all my editing. That's how I learned how to, figure out what cameras to buy and stuff. It's just endless research on YouTube. There's just a tutorial on anything you want to learn,
Yep.
like literally down to the most specific thing of, how do I do this one kind of
Yep.
transitional thing, whatever. There's going to be a video about it. So if you don't know how to edit anything, like, it's okay. Like there's a free education on YouTube just waiting for you. So download DaVinci Resolve, look up
Yeah.
DaVinci Resolve tutorials, boom, you'll be an editor in a month.
Well, and that's the thing. It's like, I tell people we have these supercomputers in our pocket and our purses, that we use every day. If you can learn to use these things as creative devices, not just consumption devices, it can dramatically change the trajectory of your life. You learn new skills, you meet new people. I mean, there's so much opportunity. And so, with that, how did you that's another that kind of leads into my next question here. What was it like for you to connect with musicians around the world who otherwise you had never even personally met, right?
Yeah, there was only one artist on the whole series that I knew ahead of time. And yeah, I knew her through NARUP. Funny enough, one of the sponsors on the show. We met at a NARUP networking event years ago. But yeah, otherwise they were all complete strangers. And it's so weird to say that now because I really feel like these are some of my favorite friends in the world now, and I've only met them like once or twice, but when you stay in touch afterwards, and I've spent so much time with them in the editing process, like
Right.
I feel so close to them
You feel
because
like you spent months with them living in your
yeah,
house.
yeah, exactly.
And they always say the same things
Yeah,
over and
right.
over.
No,
It's
and I
weird.
have like everything that they've said in these episodes like memorized because I've seen them so many times when I've been editing. But yeah, no, it is weird to say that, like, that they were complete strangers because I feel really close to all these people now. But yeah, so I first started with just like cold emails. I would literally just Google
Mm.
like singers London, like
That's
singers
awesome.
like Rome,
Right.
and to see who would come up, and I would cold email people. And I think only one person came from that. And then I thought about it and I was like, I probably sound really shady when you think about it, because I'm like, hi, I'm this random person from across the world from Hollywood. Like,
Speaking of,
yeah.
Stephanie has just joined. So, hi,
Hi,
Stephanie.
Stephanie. She's one of the most awesome artists ever from the show. Hi.
S-
I love her.
Stephanie
Um,
was in Germany, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
she's from Germany, and we met up in Colmar. And she's one of the artists that we actually got to spend like 3 days with. She stayed with us in an Airbnb, and so we really got to know each other a lot and had so much fun. And it was so hard because like I knew we'd have to get up at like 6 a.m. to start filming, but like we couldn't stop talking. Like at night, we were like, okay, we have to go to bed, but I just wanted to like chat all night because it was like finding like these long lost best friends. You know what I
Right.
mean? I feel like I've known her forever. It's weird. But yeah, so I realized like getting an email from a stranger might be kind of weird. So I started kind of going outside of the box a little bit. I found people who ran festivals, and wrote to them to ask, hey, do you have anyone you would suggest for this show? And then they would forward me to people. So there was like that level of trust already built up,
Right.
you know what I mean, from someone that they respect. And then I knew that anyone who's like running a festival or like, a traditional arts organization, they're also not going to lead me to someone who's like not a very nice person.
Right.
And like that was like our main our main goal for the show was to like have on great artists, obviously, but we wanted like the nicest people that we could find, like, good warm-hearted people. And
Right.
so I think that really helps because,
It's
they're
like
they're
you're not calling anyone and be like, "Hey, can you find me artists who are like really cynical and miserable
yeah.
human beings? I
So
want
we're
an
making a
episode that's just we
reality
need a drama episode, right?
show.
So
Yes,
I don't know what's gonna happen, but we'll just see how it plays out.
totally.
Maybe you do
Yeah,
that for season 2 just to see what happens.
totally. um yeah, so that helped. And then we had one, our Naomi, who's on this call, actually, she excuse me, she knew of uh, Tasha Bertram's band Win It in London. And she's like, I know you're looking for, artists in London. And so she's like, you have to check them out. And then I watched some interviews with Tasha first, as well. Because whenever I could, I try to watch interviews with them too. Because then you get a sense of who they are too. And she just seemed like such an amazing woman and was right. Like, she's incredible. And like, she's in a band with her family. And that is just so cool. Like, who does that? You know what I
Right.
mean? Like, how awesome is that? A family makes a band together. And so that was really cool. And so thank you, Naomi, for helping me connect with them. And then one kind of funny story was, the way we connected with one of the other artists was I had this guy write to me on Facebook saying he was an agent for cruise ships and wanted to know if I would ever want to, have an agent, to have somebody, book me on cruise ships. And, that's all well and good. I know that's a really good gig, but I'm terrified of boats. So I
Oh,
have,
interesting.
it's funny because my dad had a boating company, but like open water really scares me. So I was like, no, thank you. Not really interested in that.
Sure.
But then I looked at his website and he had all this roster of all these artists from all over the world that he represented. And I was like, well, score, I can look through his
Right.
artists and like, find some good ones and ask him to connect me to them. And I'm like, perfect. So I found this one singer, and she was amazing, like mind-blowingly amazing. I immediately started like binge watching all of her YouTube videos. Like, I was like, oh, if she would sing with me, this would be amazing. And I asked him, can you connect me with her? And he was like, oh, I'll try. And then I never heard from him again. And I I wrote to him. I was like, do you think you could connect me with her? I don't know if. And then he never wrote back. And I was like, well, that's weird.
Hmm.
And so I just reached out to her myself, like through her Facebook page. And I was like really hoping that she spoke English, because you never,
Right.
you don't know, like, why would she speak English? And she just happened to, thankfully. And she agreed to do it. And she was like, oh, that's so cool. So then we meet in Europe, and she's like, so how did you find me, by the way? Like, this is so random. And I'm like, oh, from your agent for your cruise ships, obviously, like,
And
he
she's like, he was on a boat that sank recently.
no, no, no. But she goes, I don't have an agent. And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, you were on this guy's
Ooh,
website as though he represents you.
shady.
Yeah, like wicked shady. Like, so he was lying to me, and he was, using her, and it was like this whole like bad shady business. But that led to me meeting one of my favorite human beings in the world right now. So
That's
we
super
joked,
cool.
like, we brought together by the killer. Like, he did something good.
Wow, that's bizarre, but I've run into different things like that over the years where it's like you'll see someone's website and then you're like, "Oh, can I see your portfolio or something?" And then they
Yeah.
just like go silent. It's like, "Oh, okay, I guess you're just faking it." Like,
Yeah, yeah, totally. Like, okay then. But
very
yeah.
very cool. So, whenever so what did you do like whenever you would go to these new countries? Did you have them like pick you up at the airport or how?
No. Well, The first one, actually, Una, our artist in Ireland, she was so sweet, and she picked us up because her house was a little bit outside of Galway, where we were staying, and so like a taxi or an Uber would have been really expensive, and she was just so sweet, and she did that. But outside of the UK, we rented a car. In the UK, we were so scared to like drive on the other side of the road, and then they're so windy and all the roundabouts and everything like that. But yeah, so we would, we would either, we'd either have a car rented or in Italy we did trains because the train system out there is fantastic. And then we would just like Uber to people's houses. But we liked filming in their home whenever possible because, it kind of shows a little bit of, who they are and,
Right.
a little bit of their flavor. And then sometimes we would shoot in like a town square like we did with Stephanie, and that was awesome. It was like the most beautiful place I'd ever been.
It really was. I was like, I am super jealous right now.
Right? And then it was actually the town that inspired Beauty and the Beast. It's crazy.
Sounds magical to me.
Yeah, it's fun.
Well, in terms of, that's a good way to bring up the next part. I think, what was the experience like during days when you were filming? Like, from the practical side of it, from a filmmaking standpoint, I mean, pretty much anything that you feel is important or that you want to talk about.
So, it was always our goal to make everyone feel really comfortable. You know what I mean? They're just meeting us. You know what I mean? And like, we're so excited to meet them, but you never know, like on their end, like they might be nervous about being in front of a camera or nervous about, collaborating with somebody new. Like, so, it was always our goal to like try to, just make everyone super comfortable. But, like I said, like usually we would kind of hit it off pretty quick as friends, and so it was just like a really fun day.
Right.
I have to give David props again because he was handling.
Was that a video joke pun?
Oh yeah, I didn't think of that.
Sorry, that was groan worthy. Go ahead.
I didn't think of it.
I have to give David props because he sets them up.
Totally.
That was awful.
Well, he set up 3 cameras, and like usually, changed after we got robbed, but it was about 9 audio recorders. He was working with, natural lighting pretty much the whole time, or whatever lamps, were around, because we couldn't bring
right.
additional lighting. So and I would help, but he actually would need me in front of the camera with the artist so he could frame the shots.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a lot on his shoulders, and hopefully in future seasons we'll be able to have some crew, so it's not on him again. But so we there'd be some waiting around, and then I'd always feel bad because I'd immediately want to like chat and get to know them and talk about music stuff, but we really wanted it to be natural and real on the camera, so we'd have to like stay away from certain subjects while we were setting up, because I'm like, oh, I don't want to get that on film so that people can
right.
so we're not like
just sit here calmly in silence and then we'll just talk.
Yeah, totally. I felt bad, but like I just didn't want the show to be like a reenactment of the
right.
But yeah, so then we would always start with the song, and it was just a fun day, and then we'd relax and get to chat, and then if time permitted and they were free, we'd go out to dinner afterwards or something like that. But it was good. It was really fun.
That sounds awesome. I'm definitely inspired by just the whole process and watching it from the first season of the podcast, where you're like, I remember you were kind of almost like in a really like, oh my gosh, this is crazy, like we're actually gonna do it. And now like there's such a piece about you that is tangible. Aww. And it's really cool to kind of see that process like kind of come full circle. So
I was super nervous. I was like, what am I thinking? I'm like a crazy person. I've never done this before. And so
now you've got like some of the coolest memories and stories and connections, and that to me is why I do this show. It's why I do the creative things that I do, is because of, not because it feels in the moment like, oh, I feel super calm and confident, like I'm sitting here recording this and my palms are sweating, I'm nervous just sitting here doing this,
Yeah.
even though, you and I are just having a conversation. I've got all these lights and all this stuff going on, so I can only imagine if, people who aren't used to being on camera, and it can create this sense of anxiety. And so I have to always try to remind myself, like, no, just, just have a conversation, just be present with the people.
Yeah,
um,
totally, totally.
um, so in terms of the questions that I had for you, I think that was most of them. So I know that you had taken some notes and things that you had wanted to touch
Yeah.
on. So is there, and in the meantime, if you are listening and watching live, if you have questions for Mary and want her to address them or answer them, feel free to drop them in the comments here on Facebook, and I will see those, and we will do our best to answer those questions for you. So now's the portion of the show where we're opening up more. But Mary, feel free. I know you had some things that you wanted to kind of touch on also.
Sure. Well, I remember, like, with the point of this podcast being, how to create a docu-series or something, I just figured I'd write down the things that kind of like I learned, and like,
Mm-hmm.
like what we found most helpful. So I
Yeah.
just like jotted down a little list, and so I can just make sure that I say all those things.
Yeah,
But
absolutely. That's great.
yeah, basically, like if you're thinking about doing anything like this, and you're like super scared about it, or you don't think you have enough experience, like just do it. Because I lucked out that David had a lot of experience with audio, and he's always filmed live music. Actually, we met, I sang on his radio show, which was like a live show. So I was really lucky in that. And he's even had some of his footage of this band Deer Tick that came out of our hometown, in a documentary. So he has had some decent experience with it, but we've never tried anything on this level. And I've had zero experience with any of this except for singing in harmony with somebody else. But just do it. You know what I mean? Like self fund a pilot, and then you can from there get other people on board. Just from our pilot, we got a couple sponsors. Some crowdfunding. Like just don't let fear stop you, and make something that you want to watch. This was a show that I was like looking for on Netflix for years. I was like, I really like that show Nashville, but if I could change anything about it, I would take out all the bits of drama, and it would just be like the musicians like putting
Yeah.
together songs on the couch and having a nice day. Like, I'm like, I don't care about
We have enough drama in our lives. Like, why do we watch these shows?
exactly. Like it was just, I mean, everyone has their own outlet, but like, for me the world can be dark enough. Like, everyone's all divided. It's like, there's some scary stuff happening in the world
Yeah.
right now. And so if I'm gonna make something, personally, I just wanted to make something that was like bringing some light into the world, like, bringing something positive. So make what you actually want to see. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Think about what you've been looking for. And let's see. Oh, time management and schedule was a huge thing. That was like, that was one of the biggest jobs ever. Was just, trying to line up the times that the artists were available to when we were going to be in each city. Like if I could hire one person to do one thing, it would be the scheduling.
Right.
So just realize that, like, if you're going to do a docu-series and you're going to have to get people together for interviews or something like that, like realizing that's a really big part of it, and to take a lot of time with it. Let's see. Yeah, I've touched on a lot of this. We chose our guests more about who they were as people, and that's really important for the show going forward. Um, don't be afraid to cold call people, though. Even though we kind of went around the box, we did get some people to come on through cold calls. Try to be professional on the set. Try not to swear or make like yucky jokes, because you just don't know who's comfortable with what, and you really want your guests to feel comfortable. Sometimes we'd accidentally swear, but we'd try not to. Um, Researching the gear again, YouTube was really really good for that. We needed like light gear that was really really small. Blackmagic Pocket Cinema camera was like phenomenal for that. It's like just a little bit bigger than a phone. Roy Canon lenses were amazing. They're pretty inexpensive comparatively to other lenses, and they're just amazing. Let's see.
This is all great, Mary. I really
Sorry,
appreciate it.
I'm like,
Oh no,
I've
no,
already
don't.
said, find like whoever you work with, make sure that you can work really well with them, and you don't like you're not like argumentative with them. Like David and I are like such a good team. He's really really, he really likes to take time to like get the best shots and to make sure everything is perfect, and I'm like more of I work a little bit quicker, so we like really would balance each other out perfectly. We're a good team. Just make sure that whoever you hire to work with you or as your partner to work with you, you want to make sure that like you work really well together. Like it
Well,
matters
yeah,
so much.
because you're going to be spending a lot of time with that person or those people,
Yeah.
and if you can't learn to communicate well, then whatever you're trying to build, it's just not going to work out as well.
Oh, it's everything. It's everything. Go into it with in our like a style in mind. Like you can film a whole documentary on your phone. Like the cameras on phones are gorgeous. We actually incorporated some phone footage into this series. Like you might not even recognize it, but it's really high quality. Um,
Well, I
so
think it was I watched a master class from Hans Zimmer, and one
Mhm.
of the things that he said on there that has stuck with me since is that, if you're a musician or even, any kind of creator really, he said you the biggest advice that he would give is that you have to get over the idea that you can't create a Hollywood blockbuster track on an iPad because you
Yeah,
can.
you
And
absolutely can.
I mean, it was really cool just like watching his process because he's like using software that is freely available.
Hmm.
Obviously he's Hans Zimmer, he knows what he's doing and he has a lot of experience, but the tools, the barrier to entry with these tools now and to produce something that looks really good is almost non-existent.
Yeah, it's wild.
So in terms of the footage and the production quality, I mean, it all looks really on point. I'm super thrilled that you guys were able to pull all of that together. um, Naomi did ask, what's next for you, Mary?
Oh, well, I want to do season two. Yeah, so I honestly like, I've never loved doing anything in my life the way I love doing this show.
Hmm.
Um, I've been a singer songwriter since I was a little kid. I remember writing my first song when I was in third grade, but you know, recording records and touring with them is really fun, and I do really love it. But I've fallen in love with this medium so much more than I really ever thought I would. So right now, I'm not actually planning on starting filming for it until we're really really ready and prepared.
Right.
Um, I could easily make this more of like a YouTube show where we just pump them out, go shoot,
Right.
blah blah. That's just not what this is. Like, I love YouTube shows. I think there's tons of awesome, super fun ones like that. But for David and I, it's like a little bit more important to us that it's like, we're really able to take our time with it and make it like a piece of art that we're really proud of and that
Right.
want to leave in the world. So, um, at some point in within the next year, we'll start filming again. But we need to raise funds. We need to book the artists and really plan it out. So we're gonna do more, but there's no big gigantic rush at the
That's
moment.
great. Stephanie asked, what is the biggest lesson from season one that you will take with you as you work on second season?
Oh, that's a very good
That is a
question.
good question. Thanks,
Yeah.
Stephanie.
Besides never leaving your gear alone ever for even 1 hour, um,
Yeah.
besides that lesson, I would say I knew it was going to be a lot of work, but it was times 100. So like the reason, I'm not just saying like, oh, we'll just start filming again next week. It's because I do want to make sure that we have the funding to have at least a second camera person,
Right.
because that was so amazing of David to do that and to handle all that. But I don't feel like it's right to ask that of him again. And and the post production, that I did for so long, it took so long. So just waiting until we have more funding, to make sure that um, the quality is still there, but it's not completely on just our shoulders to get it
Right.
done.
Naomi said also soundtrack please with lots of E's.
That's really sweet. Thanks for
That's actually a really good idea. I don't know if you've already thought of that. You probably have, but
wheels are turning.
very cool. Um, okay, well, I mean, we're kind of wrapping up near the end of the hour here. So if there's any other questions for those of you who are watching, feel free to drop them as soon as you can, because I want to be respectful of your time. And so, other than that, that was most of the questions that I had. So I don't know if you had anything else you wanted to kind of touch on.
Well, the one thing I do want to say, I put on my page last week that I was going to make an announcement about the show, and so figure this is a good place to do it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So on my page.
I would do a drum roll, but it would make a lot of noise. So I'll just air drum roll. There we go.
So exciting. On my Patreon, the the members on my Patreon, they're actually producers on the show. Like they really are. Like that's there's
Yep.
no difference. And so, but not just financially. I always I want to get on that site more than I do. But when I do, I really am asking for feedback and what they want to see more of. Like they're a big part of creating the show. So when I put up a post recently asking what they would like to see in future seasons, one thing was that they would like to see the full music videos of the songs in the episodes. So we've decided that starting next week, we're going to be releasing each week a different full song from each episode. So you can prepare to see those next week. So.
Very, very cool. So they'll be able to, I mean, I'm assuming that you could take the audio track from those videos and then.
I can, but see, the mostly are the songwriters are the artists.
I see.
That's conversations
Yep.
that you have to have with wonderful people like Stephanie.
Absolutely.
I don't want to be making uh,
Oh yeah, the logistics of that is an entirely separate
yeah.
thing, but this is just a gentle nudge of
Yeah,
encouragement.
for sure. Yeah, totally. I mean, I listen to them myself sometimes. So, but yeah, so that's something to think about. But for now, at least the music videos will be released pretty soon. So.
Very, very cool. Brent also put the link to your Patreon there. So
Oh,
for those
thank
of
you,
you
Brent.
who are
That's
watching
nice.
this, you can go on there. It's at patreon.com/MaryB. That's BEE for those of you who are just listening to the audio.
I really
Um,
appreciate that. Thank you.
yeah, absolutely. Okay, well, do you have any other calls to action? Anything that you kind of
um,
how people can get in touch with you, those kind of things. We do have a link here on the video to check out the show, and for those who are just on audio, that is bit.ly/finding harmony episodes FB for Facebook.
it might have been easier for me to just use the real Facebook link. Sorry,
That's okay.
our main release is on my Facebook page. So if you don't want to type that in, you can always just search in the Facebook bar, Mary B's Finding Harmony, and it'll be the only one. So,
Excellent.
hope you enjoy it if you haven't seen it. And I'm really thankful for you having me on, and it's just fun to gush about this stuff because I just love it. So
Well, I mean, it's been a real pleasure, just kind of watching the whole process and just seeing the development of the production, the quality of the production, and just as someone who does a lot of design and production work, I know I mean, just watching one episode, I'm like, oh man, people have no idea how much time and energy and like all of the logistics.
thank you for understanding.
I mean, it is colossal. It is an astronomical amount of work, and you have to love it.
Yeah.
And for those who are trying to kind of figure out, find it's like, oh, I need to pursue my passion. The idea of like pursuing your passion. I recently read a book by a guy named Cal Newport. The book is called So Good They Can't Ignore You, and
Awesome.
he takes the position that the advice of follow your passion is actually terrible career advice, because you usually don't actually, I mean, there's a lot of people who are passionate about a lot of things, but the
Yeah.
notion of bridging the gap between like making a living and doing your passion is a very, very wide canyon. um, and so if you are trying to figure out, how do I end up doing work that I genuinely love, that is an excellent, excellent book. Again, it's Cal Newport, So Good They Can't Ignore You.
I'm gonna
um,
check that out.
and it's a lot of it is basically you end up stumbling into it over time. You build skills, you develop talents, and music, art, whatever it is, writing, and that over time you build up what he calls career capital, essentially just skills that then
Yeah.
eventually end up coming together. So like with you and David, the talent that he has gained with all of the different things that he has done over time has contributed significantly to
Oh
the
yes.
production quality of what you guys are doing now. So David actually did ask, do you still find yourself listening and watching the videos and listening to the songs yourself after seeing and watching them all the time during post production?
That's this is gonna sound like you know self-absorbed or something, but yeah, I do. Like like it brings me happy. So when I see somebody
Sure.
shared it or something like that, because it makes me smile. I'm like,
Like,
oh, there's Stephanie. Like, oh, there's Tasha. There's Carolina. It's happy memories for me. So
absolutely.
yeah.
No, there's no shame in that. I mean, I'm working on, I think, my fifth album. I do a lot of like instrumental type electronic music and stuff. I've just been messing with it over the years, and it's not like, it's more of just a side hobby. But I make music that I like to listen to, and
Yeah.
so I don't think there's any shame in that. And if you're an artist and you're like making stuff that you don't like stop it. Like, or
Yeah, or
or find ways to like what you're building or something.
yeah, you're like, oh, this will be marketable or something like
Right.
that. Oh, it's not gonna work.
No, you'll find yourself stressing out unnecessarily. So that whole like suffering artist thing is so like 1800s. We need to kill that thing already.
Yeah, it's what I really think that on top of whatever your art is and whatever your passion is, there's another layer of art that is making what you love to do work so that your life can revolve around it and it can sustain you. I think that's its own
Yep.
art form,
Yep.
and I highly believe in that, and that's what I'm really striving for is and because when you do that, it makes it possible for others.
Right.
They see that it's possible, and then they're able to kind of follow the map. And so when I see artists that are able to pay their bills and live comfortably, I do not see it as selling out. I see
Nope.
it as good for you.
Right. Well, and that's one of the reasons why I like doing this show, is because there is an art to it. You have to understand business concepts. You have to understand accounting and finance and budgeting.
Mm-hmm.
All of these different things that it's so different than just, oh, I'm playing the guitar and singing. It's like there's
Yeah.
this whole other skill set that you have to learn and develop. And if you can glean from the wisdom of people who've gone before you, and so you're not like, the picture that comes to mind is like someone trying to hack through a jungle with a machete. It's like someone's already done it, so find out how
Yeah,
they did it and follow that path.
exactly. Study Dolly Parton, like study people who have made it, made it possible, and but that still stay true to what they're doing.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like that woman has, more passion in her pinky and more genuineness in her pinky nail than most people do in their whole body, but she's one of the most successful artists like that ever lived. So yeah, I don't see anything bad about that, and that's what we hope to do. So, because then you can do other good things in the world with it too.
Right.
So.
Well, and it opens up so many different opportunities whenever you are connecting with other people who do that. You kind of it almost like it compounds and over time, and so it's been really cool to kind of watch this whole process. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
So
Thanks so much for having me on.
absolutely. Okay, guys, well, that's about all the time that we have, so I'm going to do a little run through here. But before we go, I do have a special fun announcement. Um, Mary, thank you for being on here. Guys, make sure to check out Mary's her documentary series, Finding Harmony. You can look it up on Facebook. It's probably the easiest way to do so. And make sure, if you are interested in seeing season 2, make sure to connect with Mary on Patreon at patreon.com/MaryB, because all of this stuff takes money, and so that's really helps out in making these things happen. So thank you for all of her supporters, her Patreon supporters who are watching and listening. She could not do this without you. So that all said, I have an announcement also. Recently, my team and I have started focusing a little bit more on the product side of things as opposed to just the services. So for those who don't know, we do graphic design, video, websites. We've done that stuff for a really long time, but in addition to that, I'm also an author, and I've created a lot of my own original products. So this shirt, for example, if you're watching the video, this is a shirt that I designed. I made it on my iPad, and now I'm wearing it. And so, you can take these creative ideas that you have, turn them into products that you are then making a living off of. And so one of the things that we're doing now is we're going to be focusing a good bit more on promoting and sharing our products and creating new ones and connecting with people who want them. And so one of the ways that we're doing that is we're going to be giving a bunch of cool stuff away. And so Mary, I don't know if you would like this, not this particular one, this one's mine, but one of my favorite hoodies, it says "Love is my religion." And
Love
so we have it creates really cool conversations whenever you're out in public. You might have to fend off some angry religious people sometimes, but that's okay. But I would love to, as a token of my appreciation for you coming on here again, I'd love to send you one of these, and I'll send David one too if he wants it.
That's sweet of you. Thank you so much.
So just let me know. We can talk afterwards, and you can pick the color and that kind of thing. So this is one that we're going to be doing some giveaways for. So if you are interested in entering for that giveaway and you're watching this on Facebook, go ahead and just drop a comment and send me a message. So drop a comment in the video chat and then send me a direct message on Facebook with your email address. I don't want you to put your email address in the comments because this is a public video. So if you're interested in entering to win one of these, go ahead and do that. And also, if you are interested in checking out some of our other stuff, you can go to rdshop.biz. Make sure to follow us on Instagram and Facebook. The username is still at rdshop.biz. Because this is something that we are going to be doing a good bit more of, and so we're going to be doing some giveaways. So again, if you're interested in that, just drop a comment and send me a message with your email, and if you win, I will let you know. And in addition to that, if you're interested, we can sign you up for additional giveaways and discounts and stuff. So I just announced the the creation of the Facebook page yesterday, and we're already at like over 100 likes on it, which is super cool. So thank you for those of you who have done that already. It's I'm super humbled by all the support that we have had. So, in addition to that, Mary, did I send you a copy of my latest book?
You
You
did,
did.
yes.
Excellent. Okay, so I have a book that I published recently. It's all about manifesting and monetizing your ideas. So if you're interested in doing that, go to scienceofgettingrich.info and pick up a copy of that. And in addition to that, if you are looking to build your own brand or business, you need a solid logo. So that orange chevron that you see in the video here, I put that on everything as a way to kind of tie all of the creative stuff together. That's the point of branding. So if you're looking to get your branding sorted out, go to logos.reformdesigns.biz and make sure to sign up for our VIPs list. That's at reformdesigns.biz/VIPs. You'll get a free copy of my first book. It's called Stop Wasting Time and Burning Money, How to Crush Procrastination and Live the Life of Your Dreams. So anyway, that's all of my little spiel things, because after all, this is my show. It's a heck of a lot of work, and I'm going to at least take advantage of the shameless self-promotion opportunities every time I can. So, all right, guys, so that's about all we have for today. Mary, do you have anything else you'd like to share or say?
Thank you so much again for having me on.
Absolutely. I'm super honored to be here with you. So, all right, everybody, thanks so much for watching. My name is Ryan Rhodes. You've been watching or listening to the Creative Revolution podcast. I've been here with Mary B of Finding Harmony, and that's about all we have for today. So until next time, keep creating. Have a great one.